Chinese characters. Historian Rana Mitter tells the story of China in 20 remarkable lives. Part 1. The Female Emperor.
我曾经告诉过你，你母亲的死与我无关，是她咎由自取。你为什么不相信？
Nothing like a bit of soap opera skullduggery to really get things going.
你想夺走陛下，甚至想杀了本宫，我都能理解。可是红儿不曾害过你。
Episode 74, no kidding, of a Chinese drama series telling the history of Zetian, Emperor of China between 690 and 705 AD.
将死之人，何足为君？
She was the only woman in 2,000 years of imperial history ever to sit on China's throne as ruler in her own right. Hers is not just the tale of one woman's rise to the top of her own society. It touches so many themes that are central to understanding the long sweep of Chinese history. Zetian is our first Chinese character. Over the course of this series, we'll hear the stories of women and men who shaped the most populous country on earth. Scenes that range from a far-off time, parallel to the ancient Greek philosophers, to the rise of China in the past 3 decades as the world's second biggest economy. Not all of our characters are famous or elite power holders. We'll hear about the poor, sometimes nameless men and women who shaped China too. And we won't always go in chronological order. I want to mix up viewpoints and ideas across time that tell us what has held China together over the centuries, continuity as well as change, often violent and disruptive change. So that's why we're starting off bang in the middle of the Tang dynasty, which lasted from 618 to 906. China's high medieval period, and a time when its capital at Chang'an, the modern city of Xi'an in west-central China, was at the heart of a powerful and sophisticated Asian crossroads, from Arabia and Central Asia in the west to Japan and Korea in the east. Even today, the Tang dynasty is known as one of the empire's most cosmopolitan eras. So where better to start our tour of its past? And we begin with someone who embodies a whole variety of themes that say something important about Chinese history. Zetian is immensely famous in China even today, but in the West, she's hardly known. And that's a shame, because she was quite a character. Well, they don't make primetime soap operas like this, about just anyone. And even Queen Victoria didn't get one made in 74 parts. Zetian's story tells us about how people rose to power in China. It also tells us about the values and the ideas that shaped them as they did so. And it opens a window into a picture of a country not as it's sometimes caricatured, a closed, inward-looking, cut-off society, but rather as a society open to ideas from outside, as well as its own traditions. So who was Zetian? She was beautiful. We can be pretty certain of this. Now, this might sound like a bold historical claim, particularly when there's no contemporary portrait of her whatsoever. But she was taken on as a young woman who would live and serve in the royal household. And you didn't get to do that unless you were considered attractive. For an elite woman in medieval China, rising through service at court as an attendant, a concubine, or a wife, was one of the more potentially plausible ways to access power, even if it was by proxy. But beauty wasn't enough. You had to be strategic and ruthless. The traditional ethic, shaped by the thinking of the philosopher Confucius, whose story we'll hear later in the series, abhorred the idea of women having genuine power. So for any woman to gain power at court was not just a hard job of work, it was going against nothing less than the entire natural order of the universe. Some challenge. It turned out to be a challenge that Zetian was eminently capable of meeting.